Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space channel. Welcome to Adult Bible Studies, the Torah version. Happy Purim, everyone. And today's Adult Bible Studies is based upon the Beatitude. We've been going through Lent and talking about a Beatitude along with Lent. So we're studying the Beatitudes during Lent. And today's Beatitude is blessed are the humble, for they shall inherit the earth. And instead of reading one of the passages from our Adult Bible Studies booklet, we're going to study Esther. And we're going to find out how Esther and the other people around her show that the humble shall inherit the earth. And but I want to talk for a minute about the passage that is the focal passage for the Adult Bible Studies. It's where the Pharasee and the tax collector pray in the temple. And I've read this passage not too long ago in my gospel readings, and I will link that passage in the video description. So we're in Esther chapter 7 and 8. And the king came with Haman to drink with Esther the queen. This is the second banquet. And the king said unto Esther also on the second day of the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted unto thee. And what is thy request? Even if it be equal to half of the kingdom, it shall be done. Now, Esther was trying to save her people. Haman had tricked the king into issuing an edict to kill the Jewish people, not even knowing his wife was Jewish. Then answered Esther, the queen, and said, If I have found grace in thy eyes, O king, and if it be pleasing unto the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people of my request. So this has to be really weird to the king because he doesn't know that the queen's life is in danger. For we have been said, I and my people, to be destroyed, and to be slain, and to be exterminated. Wow. So killed, destroyed, and exterminated. And if we had been only sold for bondsmen or bondswomen, I would have remained silent, for adversary regardeth not the damage of the king. So just because we're being totally annihilated, this is why I'm coming to you with this issue. Then spoke King Xerxes and said to Esther, the queen, Who is this, and where is he, whose heart hath emboldened him to do so? Who does this person think they are? And Esther said, An adversary and an enemy, this wicked Haman. Then he became Haman terrified before the king and the queen. And the king rose in his fury from the banquet of wine and went into the palace garden. And Haman remained behind to make requests for his life of Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil fully determined, And when the king returned out of the palace garden, this gets good. Now, remember, they've all had wine, sealed with the king's magnet ring around the recall. Hold on a second. This is not what... Okay, I skipped a page. Unto the apartment of the banquet of wine. Haman was fallen upon the couch upon Esther was. So here the queen is laying on this chaise, and Haman has fallen on the chaise just as the king is returning, and he's already in a fury. So you know what he's thinking is happening, that what Haman is trying to do to his beautiful queen. And even a king, and even the most poorest man on the planet would have a, oh, that's my woman kind of reaction. Let me see. Then said the king, will he even do violence to the queen before me in the house? So this is my house. The word had just came out of the king's mouth when they covered Haman's face. So he brought reinforcements with him, because originally it was the three of them. When he left in a fury, went out to the courtyard, and he brought people back with him who took Haman in custody. Then said the chamberlains, one of the chamberlains, Shabash, one of the chamberlains, before the king, behold, there is also the gallows which Haman hath made for Mordecai, for had spoken well for the king, standing in the house of Haman, 50 foot high. And the king said, hang him thereupon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows which had been prepared for Mordecai, and the fury of the king was appeased. Wow. You reap what you sow. So here Haman had built these gallows to hang Mordecai on. And the next day, he ended up having to take Mordecai around on the king's steed, wearing the king's robe, wearing a crown, because Mordecai had saved the king's life. So, that whole what goes around comes around thing. Now, karma is not appropriate for Christians to say. Karma is if you do something bad, then things will become upon you equally bad. In other words, you put it out there, it comes right back. With Christianity, that's not appropriate. What is appropriate is you reap what you sow. Because when we do things bad, it's covered by the blood of Christ. So there's no equal thing going on in the cosmos for Christians. It's you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. But karma is an inappropriate term for Christians. The whole concept is of Eastern religion. And people that actually have karma as part of their religion, they don't like Western Christians using karma like we do. And also, most of the people that use the word karma that are Christian or from the United States also has a revenge element in it, which also within the Eastern religions of real karma, you get karma for using karma that way. So don't use karma. But anyway, Hanan built his own gallows. They were 75 foot high because of his pridefulness. Now, pridefulness is the opposite of being humble. So here we're going to read on in chapter 8, and I'll talk about being humble, because those who are humble inherit the earth. That's our beatitude today. So you see what happens when you're the opposite of humble and you're prideful. Destruction can come your way. So chapter 8, On the day did King Xerxes give the house of Haman the adversary to the Jews unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, and Esther told him what he was unto her. So Mordecai came in, and she said to the king, "This is the man that adopted me. I was an orphan, and we're Jewish. My family's Jewish." And the king took off his signet ring, which he had taken away from Hanan, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther appointed Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spoke again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and wept, and besought him to do away with the evil of Haman and the Agagite, and his device which had devised against the Jews. So they still have a problem. Even though Hanan is gone, the edict, the king's order, has gone out to destroy the Jews on a certain date in the future. So they've gotten rid of the cause of the problem, but not the symptoms of what's going on. So this plan is still in place. And the king held out towards Esther the golden scepter, and Esther arose and stood up before the king. And she said, "If it pleasing to the king, and have found grace before him, and the thing seemed proper before the king, I and be pleasing to his eyes, let it be written to recall the letters and devise the device of Haman, the son of Hamanite, Hamatha, the Agagite, which hath written to exterminate the Jews who are all over the province of the king." And there's 127 provinces. "For how should I endure to look at the evil that has befall my people? How could I endure to look upon the extermination of my kindred?" Then the king Xerxes unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, "Behold, the house of Haman I have given to Esther, and him I have hanged upon the gallows, because he had stretched out his hand against the Jews. And ye write concerning the Jews, as may be good in your eyes, in the king's name, the seal with the king's signet ring, for a writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's signet ring cannot be recalled." So the king is telling them, "I can't undo what is already written, but I'm going to give you free rein to write whatever edict or letter you want." Then they were called to the king's scribes at the time of the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan, and the 23 day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded for the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and to the governors, and to the princes of the province who were from India unto Ethiopia. 127 provinces, and every province according to its writing, and to the people according to its language, and the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. So this is going out to everyone, just like the original letter to destroy the Jews. And he wrote on the name of the king's Xerxes, and sealed it with king's signet ring, and sent letters throughout the swift messengers on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young domiciles that the king had granted to the Jews who were in every city to gather themselves together and to stand forward for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to exterminate all the military strength of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and plunder their property as spoil. So basically, this edict says the exact same thing as the first one, only the first one allows people to attack the Jews. And this gives the Jews the right to defend themselves and destroy the people attacking them and to take their spoils. So I'm going to end here in verse 11. I read the rest of this evening. But the entire time in the story of Esther, Esther, as a child, being raised up, was humble to Mordecai, her adopted father, and she obeyed him. And she did not say that she was Jewish to the court or to the king, even when she became queen. And she was obedient and humble before the king. When she had to go plead for her people's lives, she risked her life to go before the king without being called. And she dressed beautifully and came in and humbled herself before him and said, if it please the king, we'll have a banquet. And then she had the banquet with the king and Haman. And then she was like, at the first banquet, the king is like, what would you like? I'll give you up to half of my kingdom. And she said, well, come to a second banquet. So she was pleasing and humble before the king. And her whole life she'd been pleasing and humble before her adoptive father. Blessed are the humble, for they shall inherit the earth. She and Mordecai were now running the Persian Empire along with King Xerxes. The entire lament. And the lament was the land promised to Abraham. So 2 Jews were running the lament in the Persian Empire. God keeps his promises. You all have a wonderful and blessed day.